If you think narcissists are dangerous when they're being obvious, wait until you hear what they're really saying when they sound like they're being nice. You see, most people think they can spot a narcissist coming from a mile away, the chest thumping, the bragging, the obvious arrogance. But let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. After 45 years of working with families, couples, and individuals torn apart by these personalities, I can tell you the most dangerous narcissists aren't the ones who are loud about it. They're the quiet ones. The ones who have mastered a secret language of manipulation that flies right under the radar. I remember this one moment years ago, sitting in a therapy session with a couple. The husband was saying all the right things, things that on the surface sounded supportive, even loving. But his wife was just crumbling. She was confused, filled with self-doubt, and felt like she was going crazy. And as I listened, it hit me like a ton of bricks. He wasn't speaking English, he was speaking narcissist. He was using a set of code words, phrases that sounded perfectly normal to an outsider, but were designed to systematically dismantle her reality, her confidence, and her sense of self. It was in that room that I realized we weren't just dealing with bad behavior, we were dealing with a calculated linguistic warfare. And that's the real threat here. It's not the overt, in-your-face bully who tells you you're worthless. You can see that coming. You can brace for that impact. The real danger comes from the person who smiles while they slip a knife between your ribs. It's the covert manipulation, the coded language that sounds so reasonable. That's far more dangerous than any obvious narcissistic behavior, because it makes you think you're the problem. Let me put some numbers on this for you. In my experience, and I'm not just pulling this out of thin air, I'd say 90% of people completely miss these verbal traps. Why? Because they sound so reasonable, so caring, so normal. These phrases are designed to sound like something a friend, a partner, or a boss would say. They're camouflaged in the everyday language of relationships, and that's what makes them so incredibly toxic. You walk away from the conversation feeling a pit in your stomach, a sense of unease you can't quite name. You just know you feel worse than you did before. And I want you to think about this right now. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused, guilty, or like you were the problem even though you couldn't put your finger on exactly why? Have you ever been praised and insulted in the same breath? Have you ever had someone's concern feel more like an attack? If you're nodding your head right now, then you've likely been on the receiving end of this secret language. I want you to tell me in the comments, have you ever had that experience? Because you are not alone. Millions of people are caught in these verbal spider webs and don't even know it. This is what we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the code system. I'm telling you, narcissists use a specific set of phrases that sound innocent on the surface, but carry a payload of hidden meanings. These aren't just slips of the tongue. They are precision-guided munitions aimed directly at your self-esteem, your reality, and your emotional stability. They are weapons. And like any weapon, they can be disarmed once you understand how they work. And why does this matter? It matters because your mental health matters. Your peace of mind matters. Your right to have healthy, authentic relationships matters. You cannot protect yourself from a threat you don't understand. You can't win a game when you don't even know you're a player. Today, we're going to change that. We're going to decode 5 of the most common, most venomous phrases narcissists use to manipulate you, to control you, and to make you doubt your own sanity. And trust me on this, once you hear what they really mean, you will develop an immunity. You will hear the alarm bells go off. You'll never be fooled again. You'll be able to see the puppet master behind the curtain and cut the strings. So lean in, get ready to take some notes because class is now in session. All right, let's get right down to it. The first code word we need to talk about is one that sounds like a virtue, but it's actually a weapon. And that's the phrase, "I'm just being honest." Now, on the surface, who can argue with honesty? Honesty is the foundation of trust, the bedrock of any healthy relationship. And that is precisely why this phrase is so damn effective and so incredibly insidious. The narcissist takes something you value, something you believe in, and twists it into a license for cruelty. They wrap their poison in the flag of virtue. And you're left wondering why you feel so bad when they were just doing something so good. Let me tell you, I've sat in group therapy sessions with domestic abusers, men and women who had put their partners in the hospital. And when you get them talking, when you peel back the layers of denial, you hear the same justifications over and over again. I remember one man in particular, a guy who had systematically destroyed his wife's confidence over a decade. When confronted with the cruel, demeaning things he'd said to her in front of her family, he just shrugged, looked around the room, and said, "What? I was just being honest. She needs to know how people really see her." And right there, that's the whole game. Let me translate that for you. When a narcissist says, "I'm just being honest," what they are really saying is, "I am about to say something incredibly hurtful, and I want to enjoy your pain without taking any responsibility for causing it. In fact, I'm going to make it your fault for reacting." It's a get out of jail free card for verbal assault. It's a preemptive strike against your feelings. They get to deliver the blow, and the phrase "I'm just being honest" is the shield they hold up to deflect any accountability. If you get upset, you're the one who can't handle the truth. If you cry, you're the one who's too sensitive. See how that works. They turn their cruelty into a measure of your character. It's brilliant and it's sick. Now let's talk about the mechanics of this manipulation, because it's not random. They are masters of timing. They don't say, "I'm just being honest," before telling you that you have spinach in your teeth. No, they save it for moments of maximum impact. They'll wait until you're feeling good about yourself. Maybe you just got a promotion or you're excited about a new outfit, and then they'll hit you with it. "I'm just being honest. That dress doesn't really do anything for your figure." Boom. They've deflated you, and they've done it under the guise of helpfulness. And they often do it in public. Why? Because as it isolates you, it adds a layer of humiliation. In front of friends, family, or colleagues, you're less likely to cause a scene. You're more likely to just take it, to smile weakly and change the subject, because they've put you in a double bind. If you object, you look thin-skinned and defensive. If you don't, you swallow the poison and let it eat away at you. They get to look like the brave truth teller while you're left feeling small and ashamed. Let me give you a real-world example. I worked with a client. We'll call her Sarah, a bright, talented architect. Her husband, a classic narcissist, used this phrase to systematically dismantle her. It started small. "I'm just being honest, honey, your new haircut makes you look older." Or, "I'm just being honest, that proposal you wrote for work was a little confusing." Sarah, wanting to be a good partner, would listen, thank him for his honesty, and try to improve. But it was never enough. The honesty escalated. It became about her parenting, her friendships, and her core identity. By the time she came to my office, she was a shell of her former self, convinced she was a failure in every aspect of her life. Her husband had used honesty as a wrecking ball, and the most twisted part is that he had convinced her to hand it to him. This is a cornerstone of gaslighting. It's not just an insult, it's an attack on your perception of reality. The narcissist isn't just saying you're flawed, they're saying your reaction to their criticism is flawed. They are training you to accept their version of you, to stop trusting your own feelings. Your gut screams, "That hurt," but their words whisper, "You shouldn't be hurt. A normal person wouldn't be hurt. There's something wrong with you." So how do you spot this before it does its damage? Let me break it down for you. Here are the red flags, plain and simple. First, their honesty always comes out of nowhere. It's an ambush. Real honesty is invited. This is a drive-by shooting. Second, it's a shutdown move. The second you say, "Hey, that hurt," they hit you with, "I was just being honest." It's not meant to open a conversation. It's meant to end it. And third, look at their face. They show zero remorse. They don't care that they hurt you. In fact, they might even look a little pleased with themselves. They only care about their right to say it. So why does it work so well? Because most of us are good people. We're wired to believe that honesty is a virtue. We want to be seen as mature, self-aware individuals who can take constructive criticism. The narcissist knows this, and they exploit this social contract to their advantage. They hijack the concept of honesty and use your own good nature against you. Let me leave you with this. This is the reality check. Honest people don't need to announce their honesty. They just are honest. Truly honest communication is rooted in respect and a desire to help, not to hurt. It considers the other person's feelings. It's delivered with kindness. The phrase, "I'm just being honest," is almost always a preface to an insult, a warning shot that they're about to drop a bomb and blame you for the explosion. When you hear it, don't question yourself, question them. Because you're not dealing with honesty. You're dealing with aggression in disguise. Now, if "I'm just being honest" is their sword, then "you're too sensitive" is their shield, and let me tell you why this phrase is so insidious. It's the ultimate defensive maneuver in the narcissist playbook. It's a psychological judo flip designed to take the focus off their bad behavior and put it squarely on your supposedly flawed reaction. It's not just a dismissal, it's an indictment of your entire emotional operating system. The second you hear, "You're too sensitive," you've been emotionally hijacked. The conversation is no longer about what they did or said. It's now a trial about your character. You are immediately put on the defensive, forced to justify the validity of your own feelings. Think about that. You have to argue for your right to feel hurt or to feel angry, to feel disrespected. It's a game you can't win because the rules are written by someone who doesn't believe your feelings are valid in the first place. I've seen this my whole life. I had a father figure who was a master of this. He wasn't a bad man in a lot of ways, but if you ever called him on his behavior, if you ever said, "Hey, that hurt my feelings," the wall would go up instantly. The response was always the same: "Oh, you're just too sensitive. You need to toughen up." It didn't matter what the issue was. It could be a legitimate concern, a blatant disrespect, a broken promise. It was always deflected back onto my sensitivity. It took me years to realize he wasn't talking about me. He was protecting himself. He was using my feelings as a scapegoat to avoid looking at his own actions. And that's the real translation. When a narcissist looks you in the eye and says, "You're too sensitive," what they're really saying is, "Stop holding me accountable for my behavior. Your feelings are inconvenient for me, so I'm going to frame them as a character flaw in you." It's a declaration of psychological warfare. They are actively trying to make you doubt your own emotional responses. They want you to believe that your internal compass is broken. If they can convince you that your reactions are always too much, they can get away with anything. They can be rude, dismissive, cruel, and neglectful, and if you object, they just pull out their trump card. See, you're just too sensitive. Over time, you start to believe it. You start to police your own emotions. You start to think, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way. And that is a dangerous, dangerous place to be. That's when you lose trust in yourself. This tactic is particularly effective against empathetic, caring people. Why? Because empathetic people value feelings, their own and others. They are tuned in. They work hard to be considerate. So when someone accuses them of having a flawed emotional response, it cuts deep. They take it to heart. They introspect. They wonder, am I being unfair? Am I really too sensitive? The narcissist counts on this. They know that a good person will turn the spotlight inward, and while you're busy examining yourself, they get off scot-free. The long-term damage here is catastrophic. It erodes your emotional intelligence. It teaches you that your feelings are unreliable, that they are something to be suppressed and ashamed of. This is how people end up in relationships, whether romantic, professional, or familial, where their needs are completely ignored. They've been trained not to have needs. And believe me, this pattern is everywhere. Let's talk about the workplace. You've got a boss who loves to make these little sarcastic jokes at your expense in front of everybody. It's humiliating. So you finally get the nerve to pull him aside and say, "Hey, that makes me uncomfortable. what does he do? He leans back, gives you that look, and says, wow, you're too sensitive. It's a tough business. You need a thicker skin. Now, did he address his unprofessional behavior? No. He just questioned your fitness for the job. Game over. Or let's bring it home. Think about family. You've got a mother who is constantly picking at your choices, your career, who you're dating, you name it. And every single time you say, Mom, that hurts. What do you hear? Oh, honey, I'm your mother. I'm just trying to help. You've always been so sensitive. And just like that, you learn that her help comes with a price tag, your silence. Your feelings don't matter. And in a romantic relationship, this is where it gets really damaging. You try to tell your partner, hey, I feel lonely. I feel disconnected when you're on your phone all the time. You're making a legitimate bid for connection. And what do you get back? They look up annoyed and say, God, you're so needy. You're too sensitive. Can't I just relax for 5 minutes? And boom. Your need for love has just been reframed as a character flaw. And here's the ultimate hypocrisy, what I call the reversal game. The same person who calls you too sensitive is almost always hypersensitive to any perceived slight against them. They can dish it out, but they absolutely cannot take it. You have to walk on eggshells around their ego, but your feelings are considered an overreaction. They demand a level of respect and deference that they are completely unwilling to give. They have a paper-thin skin, but they demand that you be coated in armor. So let me set the record straight. Sensitivity is not a character flaw, it's a superpower. Your sensitivity is what allows you to connect with people, to have empathy, to create, to love, to notice the things that others miss. It's your internal guidance system. It's the alarm that goes off when something is wrong. A narcissist wants to disable that alarm system because it detects them. They want to take away your superpower and convince you it was a weakness all along. The warning sign is this: the phrase is used to end a conversation, not to understand you. It's a block, not a bridge. The proper response isn't to argue or defend your sensitivity. That's playing their game. The proper response is to hold your ground and turn the focus back where it belongs. You can say calmly and firmly, my feelings are not up for debate. The issue is the behavior that caused them. Let's talk about that. Or whether I'm sensitive or not doesn't change the fact that what you said was hurtful. Don't let them make your feelings the problem. Your feelings are the signal. The problem is their behavior. Don't let them put you on trial. You are the one holding the truth. All right, I need you to pay close attention because the third code word is particularly dangerous. It's not just a dismissal of your feelings. It's a direct attack on your reality. It's the moment they look you straight in the eye without a flicker of doubt and say, I never said that. This is the nuclear option of verbal manipulation. This is pure uncut gaslighting. When a narcissist uses this phrase, they are launching a full-scale assault on your memory, your perception, and your sanity. They are trying to convince you that your mind is an unreliable narrator of your own life. It is one of the most crazy-making, soul-destroying tactics in their entire toolkit. I have sat across from countless victims of this kind of psychological abuse. I'm talking about intelligent, capable, successful people who come into my office and say, Dr. Phil, I think I'm losing my mind. I can't trust my own memory anymore. They recount conversations with perfect clarity, remembering the words, the tone, the setting. And yet, the other person, their spouse, their parent, their boss, has denied it so completely, so convincingly, that they've started to believe they imagined it all. They've been told their memories are wrong so many times that they've begun to accept it as fact. That is the devastating power of I never said that. So let's get out the decoder ring. When a narcissist says, I never said that, what they are really saying is, the truth doesn't suit my agenda, so I am going to rewrite history right now, and I'm going to make you believe my version over your own memory. This is a masterclass in gaslighting, and they are the professors. They will use this phrase even when there is concrete evidence to the contrary. You could have a text message, an email, a voicemail, and they will still deny it. They'll say, that's not what I meant, or you're taking that out of context, or even, you must have faked that. Why are they willing to lie so boldly, so shamelessly? Because their need to be right, their need to control the narrative, is more powerful than their connection to reality. Their ego cannot and will not admit fault. Admitting they said something they now regret would mean admitting they are flawed, and a narcissist cannot tolerate that. So, instead of adjusting their behavior, they adjust reality. The psychological impact on the victim is brutal. It creates a constant state of cognitive dissonance. Your brain is holding two opposing ideas at once. I know what I heard, and they are telling me it never happened. To resolve this mental conflict, one of these ideas has to go, and since the narcissist is so certain, so unwavering, it's often your own memory that you begin to sacrifice. You start to think, well, maybe I misheard. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy. They are planting a virus in your mental hard drive, and its only function is to corrupt your files. And in the modern age, this has gotten even more insidious. You'd think technology would be the great fact checker, right? You have the receipts, you have the text messages. But the modern narcissist has adapted. They use the ambiguity of digital communication to their advantage. They will deny the intent behind a text. They'll claim they were just joking, or that you can't read tone over a message. They will use technology not as a record of truth, but as another battleground to distort it. Let me give you a case study. I worked with a man, let's call him David, who had a narcissistic boss. This boss would give David direct verbal instructions for a project. David would complete the project exactly as instructed. Then, if the project failed or was criticized by upper management, the boss would call David into his office and say, "Why did you do it this way? I never told you to do that." The first few times, David was just confused. He thought he must have misunderstood. So he started taking meticulous notes. He would even send follow-up emails. Just to confirm our conversation, I will be proceeding with X, Y, and Z. The boss would ignore the email. Then, when the project went south, he'd call David in and say, "I saw your email, but I was too busy to correct your mistake. I never said to do that." See the game? The boss created a no-win situation. He rewrote history to escape accountability, leaving David to take the fall. David felt like he was constantly walking on a floor that was collapsing beneath him. This isn't a one-time thing, it's a pattern. The repeated use of "I never said that" systematically dismantles your confidence in your own perceptions. It's a form of memory manipulation. You become hesitant, uncertain. You stop trusting your instincts. This is how they gain control. If you can't trust your own mind, who are you forced to trust? Them. This leads to what I call the evidence trap. You start trying to prove your reality. You save texts, you record conversations, you write everything down. But here's the trap: a narcissist doesn't care about your evidence. Their denial isn't based on a lack of information. It's based on a surplus of ego. When you present them with proof, they don't concede. They escalate, they attack the evidence, or they attack you for gathering it. Why are you recording me? Are you crazy? You're the one with the problem. You can't win a debate with someone who isn't playing by the rules of logic or truth. So what do? You have to become the fierce protector of your own reality. You must document everything, not for them, but for you. Write it down in a journal. Save the emails. Keep the text. This isn't to win an argument with them, it's to be an anchor for your own mind. When you feel that fog of self-doubt creeping in, you can go back to your records and say, "I am not crazy, this happened, and here is the final sanity check." I want you to burn this into your brain. If someone in your life regularly tells you that things you clearly remember never happened, you are not dealing with someone who is forgetful. You are not dealing with a simple miscommunication. You are dealing with someone who is dangerous. They are actively and intentionally trying to unravel your sense of reality for their own benefit. That's not a relationship. That's a psychological hostage situation. And the first step to freedom is recognizing the prison walls for what they are. All right, now we're getting into the deep, murky waters of narcissistic manipulation. We're moving past the direct attacks and into the territory where they try to make you feel grateful for their abuse. And they do this with one of the most arrogant, self-aggrandizing phrases in their entire vocabulary. You're lucky to have me. When you hear this, you have moved beyond simple gaslighting. You have entered a dimension of profound pathological superiority. This phrase isn't just a statement, it's a worldview. It's a peek behind the curtain into the narcissist's core belief system, where they are the prize and you are the fortunate contest winner who gets to live in their orbit. It's breathtaking in its audacity. I remember a couple I was seeing in therapy. The wife was talking about how her husband had allowed her to go back to school to finish her degree, a degree she had put on hold for 15 years to raise their children. He sat there nodding along, puffed up like a peacock. And when she was done, he looked at me, then at her, and said with complete sincerity, "She knows she's lucky to have a husband who supports her like I do. Most men wouldn't be so generous." The air went out of the room. He hadn't just supported her, he had framed her ambition as a gift he had bestowed upon her. He wasn't her partner, he was her benevolent benefactor, and she was expected to be eternally grateful. That's the mindset we're dealing with. So let's pull out the decoder ring again. When a narcissist says, "You're lucky to have me," what they are really saying is, "I need you to believe that you are worthless without me. I am the best you will ever get, so you better tolerate my bad behavior because you have no other options." This is the foundation of their isolation strategy. It's not enough for them to control you. They need you to feel completely and utterly dependent on them. This phrase is a psychological fence they build around you piece by piece. Every time they say it, they are reinforcing the idea that the world outside of your relationship with them is a scary, lonely place where you could never survive. They want you to believe that their abuse, their neglect, their criticism is a small price to pay for the privilege of their company. And this connects directly to other, more overt forms of abuse. If you believe you're lucky to have them, you're less likely to question their financial control. You're less likely to reach out to friends and family for a reality check because they've already told you that those people don't understand how good you have it. They need to sever your external support systems so that their voice is the only one you hear. If they are your only source of validation, they have total control. This is nothing short of self-worth assassination. It's a slow, systematic poisoning of your confidence. Think about it. If you are constantly told that you are lucky to be in a relationship, what does that imply? It implies that you don't deserve it on your own merits. It implies that you are somehow deficient, that you have a deficit that they, in their infinite generosity, have agreed to overlook. It chips away at your self-esteem until you start to believe it. You stop seeing yourself as an equal partner and start seeing yourself as a charity case. And don't think for a second this is just about romantic relationships. This stuff is everywhere. Let's talk about the workplace. You've got that boss who piles work on you till you can't see straight, pays you less than you're worth, and keeps moving the goalposts. Then he has the nerve to lean back in his chair and say, "You're lucky to have this job in this economy. I've got 100 resumes on my desk from people who would kill for your position." Now listen to me. He's not just managing you, he's making you feel indebted. He's trapping you, making you think you should be grateful for the exploitation. And what about in families? Oh, it's classic there. You've got the parent who helps their adult kid with bills, but it's never just a gift. It always comes with strings. They'll say something like, "You're so lucky you have me to help you out. Your brother's in-laws don't do anything for him." What they're doing is buying leverage. That help is a chain. It's a way to keep you feeling guilty and obligated, to keep you tethered to them emotionally and financially. It's not a gift, it's a transaction. This is all part of what I call the comparison game. The narcissist constantly positions themselves as superior, not just to you, but to everyone else. "You're lucky to have me. My ex would have never put up with your friends. You're lucky I'm your manager. The boss in the other department is a tyrant." They create a false reality where they are the best possible option, and by comparison, your own worth is diminished. This twists genuine appreciation into the gratitude trap. In a healthy relationship, you feel grateful. You appreciate your partner's kindness, their support, their love. It's a natural, organic feeling. In a narcissistic relationship, gratitude is demanded. It's a tax you have to pay for their presence. They do one small, decent thing after a week of terrible behavior and then expect a parade, reminding you, see, you're lucky to have me. They are training you to have amnesia about the bad and to magnify the good, keeping you perpetually off balance and feeling like you owe them. So here's the reality check, and I want this to sink in. In a healthy, loving relationship, you don't need to be told you're lucky. You feel grateful naturally. Healthy partners lift each other up. They see each other as equals. They celebrate each other's strengths. They don't keep a running tally of who is luckier to be with whom. The very fact that someone feels the need to say this to you is a giant flashing red light warning that the power dynamic is dangerously skewed. The escape route begins with recognizing the phrase for what it is, a cage. It's not a compliment, it's a chain. The moment you hear it, you have to mentally reject it. You have to start building your own case file of self-worth. Start a journal. Write down your accomplishments, your strengths, the things you are proud of. List the friends who love you, the family who supports you. Create a written record of your value that is independent of the narcissist's skewed assessment. This is your anchor. Rebuilding your self-worth after this kind of manipulation is a process. It involves reconnecting with the people they tried to isolate you from. It involves testing your own wings and realizing you can fly without them. It involves learning to trust your own value again. But it starts with a simple, powerful realization: you are not lucky to have them. They were lucky to have you. And their time is up. All right, let's talk about the fifth and final code word we're going to decode today. This is the one that's designed to make you feel completely isolated, outnumbered, and fundamentally wrong. It's the narcissist's attempt to recruit an imaginary army to their side to crush your spirit. And it comes in the form of that devastating phrase, everyone else agrees with me. This is the ultimate isolation technique. With the other phrases, they attacked your character, your feelings, your memory. With this one, they attack your social standing. They are trying to create a world where it's you against everybody else, with them leading the charge of popular opinion. It's a tactic designed to make you feel so alone, so fundamentally out of step with reality, that you have no choice but to surrender your position and accept theirs. I've seen this play out in group therapy settings in the most destructive ways. You'll have a narcissist in the group who gets challenged by another member. Instead of addressing the challenge head on, they'll look around the room and say, well, I think everyone here can see that you're just being defensive. They appoint themselves the spokesperson for the entire room. They create an instant mob with you as the target. The other group members might be completely neutral, but the narcissist has now put them in an awkward position. To disagree with the narcissist would be to side with you, creating conflict. So most people stay silent. And in that silence, the narcissist's claim hangs in the air, seeming like the truth. It's a masterful, manipulative move. So let's get the decoder ring out one last time. When a narcissist says, everyone else agrees with me, what they are really saying is, I feel weak in my position, so I am inventing a consensus to make you feel outnumbered and crazy. I want you to back down, not because I'm right, but because you're afraid to stand alone. And let me be crystal clear about something. Most of the time, this everyone they're talking about is a complete fabrication. It's an imaginary army they've conscripted in their mind. They haven't conducted a poll. They haven't held a meeting. They are projecting their own opinion onto a silent majority that doesn't actually exist. They are bluffing, betting that you won't have the nerve to call them on it. This is a powerful form of social proof manipulation. As human beings, we are wired to seek social acceptance. We have a deep-seated fear of being ostracized. The narcissist knows this, and they exploit it. They know that the thought of everyone being against you is terrifying. It triggers a primal fear of being cast out of the tribe. In a group setting, whether it's a family or an office, this is particularly potent. The pressure to conform is immense, and the narcissist uses that pressure like a weapon. Now, sometimes this army isn't entirely imaginary. Sometimes the narcissist actively recruits soldiers. We call these recruits flying monkeys, a term from the Wizard of Oz. These are people the narcissist manipulates into supporting their narrative, often without the recruits even realizing what they're doing. The narcissist will go to a friend or colleague and present a completely distorted version of events, painting themselves as the victim and you as the aggressor. They'll say something like, "I'm so worried about Jane. She seems so unstable lately, don't you think?" They're not seeking an honest opinion, they're planting a seed. Later, when they're in a conflict with you, they can truthfully say to you, "Well, I was talking to Bill and he's worried about you too." They've turned Bill into an unwitting soldier in their campaign against you. Let me give you a case study that will make your skin crawl. I had a client, we'll call him Tom, whose manager was a malignant narcissist. Tom was a star performer, but his manager saw him as a threat, so she started a campaign to isolate him. She would hold meetings without him and then tell him, "We all got together and decided this is the new direction. Everyone agrees it's for the best." Tom felt sidelined. Then it escalated. She would pull him aside and say, "Tom, a few people have come to me with concerns about your attitude. Everyone feels like you're not a team player." Tom was devastated. He started to doubt himself and became withdrawn and paranoid. He'd look at his colleagues, wondering who had betrayed him. The truth, no one had. The manager had invented the entire consensus. She was playing a divide and conquer strategy, destroying his relationships and his reputation simultaneously. This brings us to the fact-checking challenge, your logical brain says. Well, I'll just go ask everyone else, but it's a trap. If you go to your colleagues and ask, "Hey, did you tell the boss I have a bad attitude?" You risk looking insecure, paranoid, and like you're stirring up drama, confirming the very narrative the narcissist is trying to create. They put you in a position where defending yourself makes you look guilty. So, how do you stand your ground when you feel like you're fighting an army? First, you have to recognize the phrase itself as a red flag. The moment you hear, "everyone thinks," or "we all agree," your manipulation alarm should be screaming. Second, do not accept the premise of their argument. You can calmly say, I'm not interested in hearsay or what everyone supposedly thinks. I'm talking to you right now. Let's stick to your own thoughts and feelings." You bring it back to a one-on-one conversation, which is what they're terrified of. They're a coward hiding behind a fictional crowd. Third, and this is the most important, you must build your own trusted support network. You need a small council of people, a spouse, a best friend, a therapist, a trusted family member, who you can go to for a reality check. These are the people who know you, who have your back, and who can say, "No, you're not crazy. What is happening to you is wrong." This network is your anchor to reality. It's the force field that the narcissist's imaginary army cannot penetrate. Remember, a person who is secure in their position doesn't need to claim they have backup. They can stand on their own 2 feet. The narcissist invokes the imaginary crowd because they are too weak and insecure to face you alone. They are a general with no army, a king with no subjects. Don't be fooled by their bluster. Trust your reality, lean on your true allies, and let them stand alone in their field of lies. All right? Now that you know these 5 code words and what they really mean, let me give you a battle plan. This isn't just theory, this is your practical step-by-step guide to protecting yourself from this verbal and psychological manipulation. This is where you take your power back. First, you have to recognize the pattern. These code words don't operate in a vacuum. They are a system, a synergistic toolkit where each tool sets up the next. Think about it. It starts with, "I'm just being honest." That's the initial attack, the unprovoked shot designed to wound you. When you react with pain, they immediately pull out their shield. You're too sensitive. Now the problem isn't their cruelty, it's your reaction. If you try to hold them accountable by bringing it up later, they deploy the reality warping bomb. I never said that. This makes you doubt your own mind. Once you're destabilized and insecure, They move in to create dependency with, "You're lucky to have me," framing their presence as a prize you're fortunate to have. And to complete the cycle and ensure you feel totally alone, they deliver the final blow. "Everyone else agrees with me." It's a 5-step dance designed to leave you broken, confused, dependent, and isolated. I had a client, a woman we'll call Maria, who was a brilliant ER nurse, calm under pressure, sharp, decisive. But in her marriage, she was a wreck. Her husband had her so turned around she couldn't trust her own judgment. The breakthrough came when she first recognized his use of, "You're too sensitive." He'd say it every time she brought up a valid issue. Once she saw that one piece of the puzzle, the whole picture snapped into focus. She started a private journal, and she saw the entire 5-step pattern playing out, sometimes all in one weekend, seeing it written down, seeing it as a predictable system, and not just a series of random arguments, was the moment she realized she wasn't crazy. He was just running his playbook. That knowledge was the beginning of her escape. So, what's your first move? It's what I call the documentation strategy. And I'm telling you, this is non-negotiable. You have to keep records. But listen to me, this isn't for them. You're not gathering evidence to win a fight with them. You will never win that fight. This journal, this log, it's for you. It's your anchor to reality when they try to pull you out in their sea of lies. So how do you do it? Simple. Get a notebook they won't find, or use a password-protected app on your phone, and you write it all down. The date, the time, what was said. Tuesday, 10 p.m., I was happy about my presentation. He said, "I'm just being honest, it sounds boring." Then when I got quiet, he said, "God, you're too sensitive." You get specific. You write down the facts. And why is this so critical? Because this record proves to you that you're not crazy. It validates what you know is true. And let's get practical here. If things ever get legal, if we're talking divorce, custody, a complaint at work, this log is your best friend. It's powerful. It's your protection. Okay? Next up, you need a response playbook. I'm talking about planned, rehearsed comebacks. You need to have these ready to go because the goal here isn't to win the argument. The goal is to get out of their sick game. When you hear, "I'm just being honest," you say, "There's a line between honest and cruel, and you just crossed it." Or even simpler, "That was hurtful." Then you shut it down. End of discussion. They hit you with, "You're too sensitive." You come right back with, "My feelings are not up for debate." You're not going to argue about your right to feel something. You shut that trial down before it even starts. And the big one, "I never said that." Don't get in the mud with them. Don't fight about what was or wasn't said. You just look M in the eye and say, "That's not how I remember it." Then you walk away. You state your truth and you move on. You don't need their permission. And what about, "You're lucky to have me"? Oh, this one's easy. You give them nothing. A flat, boring, "Okay," will drive them nuts. They're looking for a reaction. Don't give them the satisfaction. And finally, when they try to bring in their imaginary army with, "Everyone else agrees with me," you dismantle it. You say, "I'm not talking about everyone else. I'm talking to you right here, right now." You force them to stand on their own, which they hate. Now, the key to all of this, you have to stay calm. I mean, ice in your veins calm, because this is a performance and they are trying to get a rise out of you. Your calm is your power. You take a breath and you tell yourself, "This is a game. I see the move. And I'm not playing," because sometimes the only winning move is not to play. This brings us to the reality anchor in your support system. Your journal is your primary anchor. Your secondary anchors are your trusted allies. You must break the isolation. You need 1 or 2 people. A therapist is ideal, but a sane, loyal friend or family member will do, who you can call and say, "This just happened. Am I crazy?" They will be your mirror, reflecting your sanity back to you when the narcissist is trying to shatter it. With this foundation, you can finally implement boundary setting. Boundaries are not about changing them. They are rules of engagement to protect you. A boundary sounds like this: "If you raise your voice at me, I will leave the room. If you criticize me under the guise of honesty, I will end the conversation." And then, and this is the most important part, you must follow through. The first time you walk away, they will be stunned. The second time, they will learn. The third time, they might just stop. All of this is exhausting, which is why self-care is not a luxury, it's a survival tactic. You have to actively pour back into yourself what they are draining out. Reconnect with hobbies you dropped. Have coffee with the friends they tried to isolate you from. Listen to music that makes you feel strong. You are recovering from real psychological damage. Treat it with that level of seriousness. Your knowledge is now your mission. The education mission is about teaching others. When you see a friend caught in this web, you can now give them the language to understand what's happening. This understanding is how we stop the cycle. In the long term, this knowledge changes everything. You will never enter a new relationship, be it a friendship, a job, or a romance, the same way again. You will spot these red flags from a mile away. Your narcissistic manipulation detector will be finely tuned for the rest of your life. Let me end with this. Remember, knowledge is power, and now you have the power to see through their games. You have the decoder ring. You can read the secret messages. You are no longer a participant in their sick reality. You are an observer who can choose not to engage. So I'm calling you to action. Share this information with someone who needs to hear it and help them build their own decoder ring. There are millions of people living in this confusion, and you can be the one to hand them the map out. But let me give you one final warning. These code words are just the beginning. They are the most common plays, but the playbook is deep. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and above all, remember this: you deserve relationships where words mean what they say, where honesty is kind, and where your reality is respected, not attacked. You deserve to be safe.